Michigan, the great state divided in two, with the longest suspension bridge in the Western Hemisphere separating the snowy Upper Peninsula from the less snowy Lower. We crossed the Mackinac Bridge to be one of those crazy few who will endure bitter cold and snowdrifts 7 feet tall, all to enjoy an adventure with dogs. Lots and lots of dogs. After crossing the bridge, we eventually made our way to Chamberlin's Old Forest Inn, a bastion of hot and hearty home-cooked dishes set lakeside amongst the trees, in an enduring and steadfast structure. Steadfast like my guest, Laura Neese, Arctic adventurer by way of dog sled, braving the icy tundra of Alaska and the Yukon Territory as she races the Iditarod and the Yukon Quest. While our filming started at Nature's Kennel, we found our way to Chamberlin's to relax, slow down, enjoy a nice fire. Because this location is not just a restaurant, but an orderly, cozy inn. Take a look at this mission-style wood furniture, richly appointed rooms, perfectly fluffed pillows, rich mahogany, sturdy oak, effective pine, and beautiful ash. After a good night's rest, which is absolutely an understatement, head downstairs for one of the best meals you'll have after a day in the snow. Something warm, something delicious, something rich. Like this hearty Great Lakes whitefish, oozing with cheese and butter, flanked with hot potatoes and sizzling green beans. A sizable meal to replenish the energy spent on your Arctic adventure. Laura served as our guide on the trail and at the kennel, and now we hear her story of braving temperatures of -60 degrees and how she manages to care for her companions, her champions. I'm Jay Mays, and this is SEARED. Amazing food, remarkable people. And we have part of the kennel here with us today.
This is Maple.
Yeah, Maple.
There
Hi,
you
Maple. Go. How old is Maple?
So Maple is 7.
Yeah.
And she just retired from my team this year.
Retired? What'd she run before that?
She has run Iditarod,
Yeah.
2 Yukon Quests.
Wow.
She's my main leader. Hi, sweetie. In both Yukon Quests and multiple mid-distance races around the North America too. So
Wow.
yeah, she's phenomenal. She's my main leader for 5 years.
Yeah.
And just a dog I can always rely on and trust in any situation.
So she was raised at the kennel, Nature's Kennel, from day one?
She was actually raised in Alaska
Oh, no kidding.
at a friend's kennel, and she came to Nature's Kennel when she was 2 years old.
Okay.
After she had finished her first Iditarod.
Wow. So
And
how many Iditarods has she run total?
She's finished 1,
Yep.
and then ran about 750 miles of the second one.
The second one, okay. And then the 2 Yukon Quests.
Yep. She's phenomenal.
When you have a lead dog, is it one lead dog or are there 2 lead dogs?
You can do it either way.
Yeah.
She can do either. Sometimes I think she prefers single lead.
Okay.
But, hi, sweetie.
Yeah.
Double lead is, you'll see that more often.
Yeah.
So it's just a little less pressure
Sure.
on the leaders, and they can, have fun with each other while they're up there too. So
Yeah. What do you run with, generally speaking?
usually double.
Double?
I've run her single on a couple times in races.
Yeah.
When I knew it would just be easier for her.
Mm-hmm.
Climbing a couple mountains that
Sure.
I knew she would just charge up them and not have to worry about anything. So
Yeah.
yeah.
So after Maple retires, what's her next phase of life at the kennel?
She is my couch potato,
Okay.
and she's my official co-pilot. She pretty much goes everywhere with me.
Oh, very cool.
So she still goes to all the races, and she'll also do some puppy training too.
Okay.
My first couple runs in harness and show them the ropes.
Wow. So Maple stays involved after retirement, still from a training perspective.
Yep.
Really? And getting the dogs comfortable, the puppies comfortable with being on the gang line and that sort of thing.
Yeah.
Wow.
Yep.
So these dogs have an entire life cycle of born and raised to do this, a lot of training, doing it professionally, and then having a professional retirement. They're athletes in that context.
They are true athletes.
Wow. Well, Maple's going to stay with us for the entire interview, but she'll probably be out of frame for a little bit.
Yeah. She'll
But
take a nap.
She'll take a nap right there. Maybe we'll head down to Maple's level and we'll do an interview with Maple later.
There you go.
I like that idea. All right, cool. So thank you for joining us on SEARED.
You're welcome.
I really appreciate it. We'll talk a little bit about the Iditarod because I don't think people know enough about the Iditarod. So let's start there. Tell me the history, your history with the Iditarod, and what attracted you to it, why you ran it in the first place.
So I first learned about the Iditarod when I was 9 years old.
Yeah.
And it was a homeschool project down in central Ohio. You don't hardly get any snow.
Sure.
And
Not like
the
up here.
idea was absurd, but I totally fell in love with the sport.
Yeah.
And I always loved dogs, and winter was my favorite season. And so as soon as I learned about the Iditarod, everything I ever thought about, read about, watched videos on was sled dog Iditarod related.
Yeah.
So yeah, it kind of just went crazy from there. I knew I wanted to do that and race the Iditarod and train a dog team. So
you did?
I did.
What is, for the people that don't know, tell us about the race, the Iditarod, where it starts, where it ends, what its history is.
So the Iditarod is 1,000 miles long.
Yep.
Starts in Anchorage, Alaska, and then goes to Nome, Alaska. You have 22 checkpoints throughout the race. Most of them are at native villages. So there's a lot of history there. It's cool to see. A lot of the trail is the original Iditarod Trail, which was used to haul gold, haul supplies, mail, all that stuff by a dog team way back when.
So the Iditarod itself, the Iditarod Trail started out as a functional trail to get from Nome to Anchorage, and Anchorage to Nome.
Yeah, and so yeah, there's just lots of history along the route. And the race was developed in 1973.
Okay.
And has been running ever since.
Yeah,
And
so we're approaching 50 years of that race. Yeah, wow.
Yep. So, and there have been a lot of changes. Originally, you could start the race with 22 dogs.
Okay.
Which is crazy.
Yeah.
And
crazy low, crazy high.
Crazy high.
Okay.
So now it was 16 for the longest time.
Yeah.
And now last year they cut it back to 14 dogs.
So you start the race with 14 dogs. Does that mean 14 dogs on the gang line?
Yes.
Okay.
Yep.
Do you take other dogs with you in case a dog needs to be swapped out or there's an illness or something like that?
You're not allowed to swap out any dogs.
No.
So those 14 you start with are the 14 you're going to Nome with.
Wow.
And you can, if you have, a dog gets a stomach bug or something like that.
Yeah.
You can leave them at any of the checkpoints.
Yep.
There are veterinarians at every place along the trail.
Right.
So you can leave your dog there, and they'll fly them back to the start, and then your handlers will pick them up and get them cozy in the dog truck and wait for you to.
Gotcha.
The rest of the team to finish and come join them.
Right. Help them recover.
Yep.
How long is the Iditarod? How many days generally?
The fastest time was just over 8 days.
Okay.
More common time is 9.5 days for the winning teams.
Okay, so there's not much of a... Okay, so you're saying a winning team is generally around 9.5.
Yes.
Okay.
And then last place is generally 2 weeks.
2 weeks, 14
Somewhere
days.
around there. Yep.
So that's the range, 8 days to 14 days pretty much, that
Yep.
this can be finished in. Wow. Are there modern records that are super impressive for the Iditarod? Like, was the 8-day one recent?
Yes, it was. I gotta think about that. I can't remember the year.
Okay.
It was recent.
But it's a modern time.
Yeah. Yep.
Okay. Well, that's a pretty good primer on the Iditarod. We'll talk about the Yukon. What is it? The Yukon Challenge?
Yukon Quest.
Yukon Quest.
Yep.
That's a better name. We'll talk about that after we order a cocktail or something.
Sounds good.
Perfect. I don't think people have an appreciation for how tough mushing is, or how much of a love it can really be, like how much it's a passion or a lifestyle. So I want to talk a little bit about like the length of the Iditarod race, or what it's like at a checkpoint, or do you bring your food with you, or how do you maintain warmth for the dogs when you're out there? Any of those logistical things, whatever you think is people need to know, let's talk about those.
Cool. So, yeah, it is truly a lifestyle. If you don't love dogs and spending hours and hours and hours in the wilderness with just your dogs, then you're not going to want to do this. So, yeah, it's a pretty small group of people that end up doing it. And, so for Iditarod and Yukon Quest, when you're out there 1,000 miles, there's a ton of pre-race logistical planning. So you cannot... they're both totally unassisted races. So you can never have anybody bring you dog food, human food. Nobody can, aside from vets, nobody can touch your dogs. Or help you bed them down, help you feed them.
It's all on you. You're doing all of that.
Yeah. Beforehand, you have to pack, they're called drop bags. And so your drop bags go out to every checkpoint. You have to figure out how many you need per checkpoint and what you need in every drop bag. So that's all the dog's meat, the dog's kibble, all the human food is prepackaged, vacuum sealed. So all you have to do is drop it in your cooker pot with your boiling water, and it warms up in there. And then anything like dog blankets that you can cover them up if it's really cold. Booties for the dogs.
Of course.
Batteries, matches, hand warmers, neck gaiters, all that stuff. More gloves.
It goes with you.
So all of that, you package it beforehand, and then especially coming from the lower 48, it's even trickier. So it has to be shipped by semi, reefer truck, over to Seattle. And then Seattle, it gets on a barge, travels by barge for 8 to 10 days up to Anchorage. And at that point, the race committee takes it over and flies it out to all the checkpoints.
Wow. So there's a logistical aspect to it, and then there's also this survival and wilderness aspect to it. And it's these two components to the race. Plus you have these athletes like Maple that are running this as well, and they need to be prepared. And then yourself as an athlete needs to be prepared for that type of survival, that type of environment.
Hi, sweetie. Survival, talking about the survival thing. It made me think of, 2018, we were in the Yukon Quest. In the first 4 to 5 days, it didn't get above 40 below zero.
Didn't get above 40 below zero.
It was 40 below to 60 below. Most of it was on the Yukon River. So you have the winds, wind chill. The National Weather Service measured a 90 below wind chill one night.
Wow.
And so at that point, you totally forget that you're even in a race. It is truly just survival. And in a way, that's where it becomes the most fun, because you're 14 dogs and you are totally reliant on each other. And that bond strengthens, basically by the minute as you go through all this together. And hi, sweetie. So, stuff like that, when you get through it, is just so amazing to look back on and realize what you've all been through together and accomplished. So pretty special moments.
Every dog born at Nature's Kennel receives a carved wooden badge with his or her name and birth year. When that dog sees its watch end, the badge is affixed to one of the many structures at Nature's Kennel to honor the fallen. Cheers to each and every one of those dogs. Awesome. Thank you.
You're welcome.
Thank you.
What did we get? We got the upper hand
Upper hand
Gold.
harvest gold. Great. Thank you. Well, good choice. Cheers.
Cheers.
That's good.
It is good.
We should decide on our first food since we hit a natural stopping point. So we'll take a look at the menu and then figure out what we're going to get. Yeah.
Your choice. I don't care.
My
All
choice.
Sounds good. Yeah.
It's supposed to be the guest choice.
I don't want to choose.
You don't want to choose? You did say the baked brie was good,
is really
so
good.
I think we should do that.
Sounds good.
All right, perfect. I want to talk about 40, 60, and 90 degrees below zero because I don't think most people watching have even experienced those temperatures. I mean, maybe negative 15, maybe negative 20. Like, probably that's the limit of cold that anyone watching has experienced. But negative 40, negative 60, negative 90 is a completely different level of cold. What are you doing for survival, heat, to stay warm at those temperatures?
So the other thing in these races, nobody carries a tent or anything like that.
Okay.
So when we camp with the dogs, it's all, you're just sleeping in your sleeping bag.
Open air.
Yep.
Wow.
So adds a little more to it.
Yeah.
So my routine at a checkpoint, or especially in the Yukon Quest, we camp out on the trail a lot because there's a lot, long distances between checkpoints. So we stop, the dogs immediately get a snack, and then take all their booties off and give them a good bed of straw. If it's really cold, 40, 60 below, I'll consolidate the team so everybody is sleeping together.
Body warmth.
Everybody's, curled up next to each other, and they have their jackets on, and when they're together like that, it gets amazingly warm. And then I take my sleeping bag and kind of choose the windy side, and then create a windbreak for them.
Wow.
And and then you just, at 60 below, even sometimes 40 below, you're lucky to drift off to sleep kind of, and then a half hour you wake up shivering, and then you can maybe fall asleep again, a half hour you wake up shivering.
Wow.
So for the musher, there's not a whole lot of sleep. There's not a lot of sleep in the race anyway.
Okay.
And then when it gets cold like that,
it's even harder to sleep.
Yeah.
And you have top level gear. I mean, it's not like you're going out there with something you bought at a grocery store for gear. You're going out there with top level sleeping bags and all this gear, and it's still cold enough to wake you up after a half an hour of sleep.
Yeah, it's cold. But yeah, and then as far as the sleep goes, so competitive race, you're resting 4 to 5 hours generally.
Yeah.
So the dogs get, by the time you take away their eating time, they get a good 3.5 to 4.5 hours of sleep. Where the musher is still doing all the work. So you're going through feeding, taking booties off, feeding yourself, taking care of, massaging, taking care of feet, putting ointment on if needed, putting dog jackets on, all this stuff.
This work.
This really important
work
that needs to be done. And then you're finally crawling into your sleeping bag and lucky to get an hour of sleep.
How do you prepare for that in terms of the sleep cycle?
I have before.
Yeah.
So one year I was training 2 teams, and my average day, I would get up at 4, feed dogs, go out with one team, run a 60-mile run, come back, grab lunch real quick, go out on a 50-mile run with the other team, come back, feed, and go to bed. And so at that point, I was getting maybe 5 hours of sleep a night.
Wow.
For those, a good 3 months out of the training season. So when I went in, that was my rookie Yukon Quest year. And so I went into my first 1,000-mile, and it was so easy because I was doing a non-competitive schedule, so I was resting 6 hours.
Yeah.
I was easily getting 2 hours of sleep or rest, so I was actually getting more sleep a day than I was in training.
Wow.
So that was kind of nice.
Yeah, the Yukon Quest was like a break.
Yeah. I haven't done quite as good training myself with sleep deprivation since then, but.
So I think going into this, I almost felt like you're the athlete and the dogs are sort of facilitating your travel across the tundra. Now, in hearing you describe this, I almost think of it the other way.
It is the exact opposite.
Like the dogs are the athletes, and you're facilitating their success along the way. Like you're not there. You're not there as like the driver of a car, right? It's not like that. They're taking you across this world, and you're enabling their survival.
Exactly. Yeah. So I'm kind of enabling them to do what they were born to do, what they're passionate about. So I kind of think of my jobs as the team coach, the leader of the pack, the massage therapist, the veterinarian, the cheerleader. So when it's 60 below, nobody, I don't want to get out of my sleeping bag, and the dogs are little. You know, should I really get up out of my cozy husky ball here?
Right.
So I have to be able to get up out of my sleeping bag when it's 60 below and I'm really cold, and be able to keep a smile on my face and say, all right, guys, I'm ready to go. And then they can feed off of me, and they know
energy.
They know it's all right to get up and go.
That takes a lot of willpower on your part then.
It does. And in a way, it is easier when you're up and moving.
Yeah, sure. To endure the cold. Instead of just in a sleeping bag, just trying to stay away from it.
Exactly. Yep.
Wow. How do you choose a team? Because with 242 dogs, there's a lot of different options, considerations for, I imagine, whether or not the thickness of their coat, whether or not the dogs themselves get along with one another, if they've been a team, for how long they've been a team, if you know them well. Like, how do you grow a team?
So, it's pretty funny when you raise the dogs from puppies, because you always have your favorites when they're puppies. And you're always thinking, oh, I can't wait till you're on my team.
Right.
But sometimes those, puppies end up being dogs that, would rather just stay around and run 20-mile tours than go out on 1,000-mile races. So it gets really interesting when it comes to that.
Yeah.
But yeah, it's a cycle. So the dogs don't start out on the A team, on the main team.
Yeah.
They start out on a puppy team or a B team. So on those smaller, lower level teams, they're not worried about competing as much.
Okay.
And especially the puppy team, or they're more yearlings to 18 months to 2 years old.
Sure.
And those dogs, they're not worried about competing. They're not running a fast schedule.
Right.
All they're doing is just gaining experience.
Okay.
They're figuring out how the checkpoint routines work.
Yep.
They're learning how to sleep when there are 200 dogs barking around them.
Yeah, interesting.
And learning all those fine kind of skills that will then enable them to move up and run their first 1,000-mile race.
I didn't even think of that level of skill that goes into this for the dog, but it is how quickly they can go to sleep. You mentioned when we spoke yesterday whether or not they're good eaters. They need to arrive at a checkpoint and eat and get calories right away. Those little things are trained skills over time that become a part of the dog's routine.
Yes. So it's both of those things are really important. And the sleeping, they only learn it from experience.
Yeah.
And so those, puppy team and B team years are super important. That they're out there on these 200 to 300-mile races, just learning how to sleep, how to eat, when there are distractions and all that stuff. Yeah,
because there's also media attention around them. There's other dog teams around them. They need to be focused through that.
Yeah. So on their first couple years like that, I kind of get report cards on them, and I get to run them throughout the year too and see. Yeah. And then in the spring is really exciting for me. It's actually halfway through the 1,000-mile race is when I really start thinking about next year. Yeah. And start thinking, oh, it'd be cool to run this race, and I could make that schedule work. Right. And then figuring out what young dogs are going to move onto the team. Yeah. And that's always exciting, just to continue to grow the team and make us as a whole a better, more single unit.
Right. So you're saying halfway through the 1,000-mile race, you're like, what's going on in your head is, how is this team doing? Who's going to be on the team next year?
Yep.
Like you're grading them as you go almost.
Yeah. That's usually right at halfway is usually when my brain kind of comes alive, strangely. Even though I'm running on 2 to 3 hours of sleep in 24 hours.
Maybe that enables it.
Maybe.
Maybe there's something there. Like you're so sleep deprived that your brain's just in a different mode and enables you to think about
Yep.
that. Yeah, that's really interesting.
Yeah.
Do you, what's allowed and what isn't allowed in terms of sustenance on the trail? I assume you're not carrying a rifle with you and like going rabbit hunting. Like I assume you're bringing food with you, or like you said, the checkpoint drops earlier.
Yep.
What isn't allowed?
So nowadays, so in the early days they would trap.
They would trap
and hunt and kind of feed the dogs as they went along.
Right.
But nowadays, there's no time.
Okay.
In the race because it's so fast paced now, and the dogs have developed so much that what they can do is amazing.
Yeah.
So they get the very best food. And so what's sent out to the checkpoints, that's what they get. They eat like kings and queens.
Is this Royal Canin you have on your shirt? Is that Canaan or Canaan? Canine?
Canaan.
Canine.
Everybody says it different.
Everybody says it different.
Yep.
Everyone will recognize that brand, I think, if they have a dog. I'm sure they've seen it at their vet and everywhere else.
Yep.
But they're one of your sponsors.
Yes.
And it's their top level food that you're taking out there.
Yes. And it is truly amazing food. I actually just ran a 300-mile race, and it was warm.
Yeah.
For the dogs. I mean, 30 above was the usual high temp, and that's way too hot.
That's way too hot.
So when it gets warm, the dog's appetite decreases.
Yeah.
And my team had an awful appetite the whole race.
Oh, okay.
The only thing that they would eat was just the plain kibble.
Really?
Yeah, they wouldn't touch the meat. They had no interest in anything except for the kibble.
Wow.
So
good job,
we
Royal
ran
Canin.
exactly. So we ran 300 miles basically on just kibble, and that's amazing. That's a good food.
Do these dogs? Do you sense stress in these dogs or anxiety as they go, or all these things that if it was a professional sports team, say baseball with humans or something, that you have to check in with on the psychological front, like how they're feeling about what they're doing, how they're feeling about the race. Is that a part of your camaraderie with them? Is that a part of your consideration?
So for the dogs, all they care about is running.
Yeah.
They really don't. I think the majority of them really don't care whether they're in a race or they're training.
Yeah. They just want to be out there.
I kind of second guess myself because she is super competitive.
She's competitive.
Yeah.
I asked this question, and the first thing she did is got out to make herself known. She's like, yes, this is a big part of it.
And you see her inside, and you're like, she's not a sled dog.
Yeah.
But when she's in lead in a race and you come up on a team to pass them, she not only just cruises past them, but she also, and it's pretty rare that a leader will be competitive enough to do this, but she'll kick it into high gear when she passes that team because she wants to get past them.
And is that a training thing or is that a personality thing?
It's just personality.
That's personality.
Yep.
So you're not training passing and like training that aggressive.
Passing, so we train passing behavior. So we don't want professional dog teams. They will pass, whether it's head on or passing from behind. They'll pass, and the dogs will hardly even look at each other.
No kidding.
They're just doing their job. Everybody's in the zone.
Zone in focus.
And and it's always really cool to see two well-trained teams pass and just go on there, do their thing.
Is it? I mean, if the team passing has a competitive dog, and the team being passed also has a competitive dog, I mean, who has the right of way? Does the one team have to slow down if they're being passed, or can they accelerate and prevent the pass? What are the rules?
So the passing team, or the team that's being passed, naturally speeds up because dogs like to chase.
It's like people on the highway too.
It's true.
You're passing someone and they start speeding up, like, what are you doing?
This is not right.
Yeah.
So The rules for every race are the overtaking team. So the team being passed cannot just repass the overtaking team right away.
Right.
Because nobody's getting anywhere that way.
Yeah,
Because the overtaking team is obviously faster.
Yep.
So sometimes the team that's just been passed will just have to stop for a while.
Just have to stop.
A couple minutes and let that team get a little farther ahead.
And they can pass them at another time if they need to, and they can speed up. But, oh man, my competitiveness would kick in. I would have a hard time with that. I'm like, no, go ahead. I would have a real hard time with that. So, how do you mentally prepare for a race? Because or is it just innate? You spend so much time with these dogs and through this process that is just almost natural for you as a part of your life.
Yeah, races are really easy for me.
Okay.
I never get nervous, butterflies, anything.
Yeah, so you're not going through like a big preparation thing.
Nope, it's just another day.
Yeah.
Another day with my team. And
your boys and girls, and you're taking them out there and making it happen.
Yes. Yeah.
I love that she's active right now.
Mapley.
It's so nice.
Their, true focus is just running.
It's just running.
So, but that being said, they feed 100% off of the Musher's attitude.
Yeah.
So, if I at some point realize that my team's getting a little slower, a little, not as happy, excited.
Yeah.
I, through the sleep deprivation, try to remind myself to just stop, take a step back, and look at myself. Am I getting a little too tired, a little, it's
low
60
energy.
below again.
Yeah.
Because if I, even if I'm have to fake it, if I'm happy, they're gonna be able to be happy also.
That's good for them.
So.
Well, good. I think our first dish is ready. You ready for that?
I'm ready.
All right, let's do it. The baked Brie at Chamberlin's is a fitting prologue to a savory exploration of hot and hearty fare. Imagine, you walk through the doorway to Chamberlin's, in from a snow squall with wind chills below zero, and you immediately feel the warmth of a fireplace on your cheeks. Then, the smell of cooked cheese wafts by. Wrapped in a flaky phyllo and topped with a delectable raspberry sauce, the baked Brie brandishes taste, texture, and temperature to perfectly warm you from the inside out. Served with crisp water crackers and fresh-cut apple slices. Enjoy. So we got the baked Brie.
Yeah.
I'm super excited for this.
Delicious.
Awesome. Thank you.
Thank you.
Raspberries and should be good. Thanks. Wow.
You want some?
She's super curious now. I am too, Maple.
Hey, you.
So yeah, you get first dibs.
Alrighty.
The knife.
Thank you. You want some mapley? Cheese is her favorite.
Is it? Mm-hmm. Do you have days off during the week? I mean, not from
the
dogs,
guides
obviously,
do.
but, okay.
Yeah, they have complete days off where the other guides just cover dogs for them. And,
Oh wow.
I don't have any days off, and I don't want them because it's a lifestyle. Mm-hmm. So.
It's funny you say that because I wouldn't want a day off from my dogs. Mm-hmm. Like even being away this weekend for like 2-3 days, like I'm thinking about my dogs, and then we have a 2-week filming session in the next couple of weeks. And I'm thinking like I'm gonna have to board them for those days. And,
yeah.
I wouldn't really want a day off. Do these dogs travel with you throughout the week? Like if you're running to the grocery store, do you just take a couple of them with you everywhere? Is that part of their routine, or are they in training mode and they're not doing that?
I usually grab somebody and take them with me.
Yeah.
More often than not, it's Maple, this year anyway. Mm-hmm. It's Maple or North, my two retired. Just so they can get out and since they can't run anymore, they still get to get out and have fun.
Yeah, that's cool. This is really good. Good choice.
Yeah, it is.
I like the fresh fruit. I mean, I love the cheese, obviously, too. But
But yeah, they love to travel. They, when the dog truck pulls up to the kennel, they just go crazy.
That's super
The
exciting
kennel
for them.
erupts.
Right.
And with my team, I can just let everybody loose.
Okay.
And they run up to the truck, and I'll wait their turns to go into the boxes. And
How do you get them up there? Is there a ramp, or do they jump up?
so they jump their front feet, put their front feet up, and then I lift them up.
Lift their butt?
Yep.
It's a good way to get a dog in the car. I could live a life around 242 dogs.
It's
The puppies
awesome.
were really fun yesterday, but they were also... It's weird. People think of puppies as like, oh, I want to go see the puppies. I want to hang out with the puppies.
Do you really?
Exactly. After we were with the puppies, I was like, no. I want to go hang out with the other dogs. They are chill. They're relaxed. They're still really attentive. They're nice. I would much rather have that. I mean, puppies are great, but...
One-on-one puppy time
One-on-one.
is really nice.
Yeah, exactly. But when we had the 5 or 6 of them, it was crazy.
I have had litters during the summer where I spend a lot of time with them that they're enjoyable to be in the pen with all the time, but
Yeah.
you have to spend a lot of time with them.
Yeah.
A couple of years ago, there were... So in the big pen that had the 6 puppies,
Yep.
there were 17 pups in there. 3 different litters.
17?
And yeah, and then for walks, I would take them and a litter of 3 out. So there's 20 puppies just running around like crazy.
Wow.
It was fun.
Maple. Maple's a great name, too. Which were the other dogs in her litter, like oak and ash and other
So
trees?
It is actually one litter I've never really understood the theme for.
Okay.
They're supposedly the rum litter. So it's Maple, Elmer, Winkle, and Baker. And then their brother Booker lives out in Oregon.
Your memory for dogs and their names is incredible.
I wish I could do the same with people, but
That's a totally different skill set. Like, the only people I know that are really consistently good with meeting people and remembering their names are salespeople usually, because it's part of their job. But this is a part of your job, is to know your dogs and to know your family.
Yep.
Really. Sure, it's like knowing your family. It really is like knowing your
yeah,
family.
it is
Yeah,
a really big family.
really big family.
Family. Is there any other way to say it? There's trust, there's confidence, there's loyalty, there's love.
Let's talk a little bit about the Yukon Quest. It's a different race. Did it start after the Iditarod started?
It did. So the Yukon Quest started in 1984.
Okay, not too long after though. Less
No.
than 10 years, 11 years.
And yeah, so it's also a 1,000-mile race, but they're totally different races.
How so?
So the Yukon Quest, alternate years, it either starts or ends in Fairbanks, Alaska,
Okay.
and then starts or ends in Whitehorse, Yukon Territory.
Oh, so it runs both directions.
So it's an international race.
Yeah.
And instead of the 22 checkpoints like Iditarod, there are 9.
Right.
So you have up to 200 miles between checkpoints.
I was just gonna say, but it's still a 1,000-mile race.
Yep.
With way fewer checkpoints. Wow.
Yeah. So I have gone 200 miles, pretty much 48 hours, maybe a little over, without seeing another soul.
Not many people have that experience. Like that's, I
No.
mean, you can stay home and not see anybody. It's totally different. I think some people like doing that, but being out in the wilderness in survival mode, where people might know where you're at, but ultimately you're responsible for your survival and the survival of 14 other beings.
Yep.
That's a pretty incredible experience that not many people have.
Yeah, it is.
What have you been overwhelmed by when you're, like the beauty of the landscape, the moment of being alone, the silence, like what, can you describe the environment you're in?
One of my favorite nights on the trail was in the Yukon Quest, leaving the halfway point. We were about, starting about 40 miles into the run. The Northern Lights came out and were beautiful. We were descending King Solomon's Dome, so one of the 4 summits. And there was hoarfrost on everything, which is that beautiful frost that clings to the trees. And everything was just glittery. And the Northern Lights are just dancing. And so we stopped to camp right at the bottom, pretty much, of the mountain. And bedded the dogs down, and wolves started howling. They sounded pretty nearby. And it was just amazing. And so things like that, you can't replicate those moments.
That Northern Lights dancing, ice glistening off trees, your dogs and you are bedded down in the woods and you hear the wolves howling. Yeah, not everyone has that experience. That's super rare. Is that why you do this?
It is. To be out in the middle of nowhere with my best friends, and it's to be able to see them do what they love and live with passion. Is just gives me more passion and love for life.
That's amazing. I think a lot of people strive to find a passion in their life and then don't do it. Something holds them up, right? There's a financial choice, there's a convenience choice, there's someone in their life telling them no. But you enable these dogs to live their lives with passion.
Right.
Which I don't think a lot of people, even dog owners, have the ability to identify with. Like, you're really giving that to them. They're not slaves to your sled running across this tundra.
Exactly.
This is what they want to do.
Yep.
Is that accurate?
Very accurate, yeah.
It's almost a different level of, I was going to say pet care, but it's not even pet care. It's the caring for that being, for that entity. It's beyond pet care.
It is, yeah. They're
inviting them into your family, making them your family.
Yep. Very special.
Yeah, very special.
That's part 2 of our adventure to the Upper Peninsula in Michigan. In our final episode with Laura, more about mushing and more hot and hearty food from Chamberlin's Old Forest Inn.
He's got to be a husky lab beagle something mix. So his legs are about that tall, but his body looks like maple. So he's a little misproportioned, but he's the smartest dog.
Not a good stride, probably.
No.